I'm here at our ministry center. We're getting ready for one of the busiest weeks of ministry in our year. Of course, we just completed our Easter outreach to Congress. We delivered a special resurrection season gospel message to every one of the 535 offices in the legislative branch of government, in the Congress, House of Representatives, and the Senate. That was big. That got us ready for this week, which of course anticipates three major events, not only Good Friday and Easter, Resurrection Sunday, two of the most important days for Christian believers, but also the Passover that takes place this week. And we will do our own ritual, ceremonial Passover meal here at our ministry center, as we have done for years. It attracts a lot of people who come. It is an intimate gathering. It's not a big event, but it's a very meaningful one, and it attracts some very important people to us, people that we are really bonded with, have important relationships with, and it's a very meaningful event. I want to just kind of give you a little picture of it, because I know most of you are familiar with, of course, Good Friday and Easter celebrations, but maybe not the Passover meal. Of course, when Jesus went into the upper room with his disciples for the Last Supper, which is the origin of our concept of Holy Communion, the Lord's table, the Eucharist, it was a Passover meal. Read about it in the Gospels. Well, the Passover ritual ceremonial meal, which recalls the exodus of the Israelite, the Hebrew slaves out of Egypt on their way to the Promised Land, the Hebrew slaves. Hebrew would eventually give way to the term Jewish or Judaism. So we're talking about the Jewish people. I was born into a Jewish family. I'm Jewish by birth, Christian by faith, so I've always celebrated the Passover. It's a very meaningful event for me, as it was, of course, for Jesus and his disciples, and so much comes out of it. Well, these are some of the accoutrements that we will use for our Passover meal here at our ministry center coming up this week. You can see the 4 ritual cups. They have a role to play in the program. A Passover meal is called a Seder, and it's simply the Hebrew word for order. It means there's a certain order to the meal and a meaning to each thing that is done inside this ceremonial meal that we eat together. And the Haggadah is the program that gives us that order and the meaning, and I'll be reading through this with our folks and talking about each of these implements. There's a Passover dish that has ceremonial foods on it, each of which symbolize or represent a part of the Passover story. There is, of course, matzah, the three flatbreads that are used in telling the story of the Exodus. You remember, I can't get into it. You should be here on Tuesday night. We can crowd you in. I can't get into it in a short video, but it has great meaning to it. And there's something called a matzah tash, which is a fabric envelope. We'll place those 3 crackers in there, and you'll be surprised what you learn about the meaning of that. There are, of course, there's Passover wine, or for those who have sensibilities about that, grape juice that we'll be using, the non-fermented version of it, and has deep meaning. And of course, you got to get dressed up for the affair, not only the guests, but the celebrant. And I will be the celebrant of this Passover Seder meal, and I'll be wearing the traditional robe called the kittel, which recalls the ceremonial robes of the high priest in the temple, and my talit, or prayer shawl. This one happened to belong to my grandfather. It's almost 100 years old, and it's a great honor for me to use it at Passover meals. And then I'll be wearing my real fancy cap. Don't call it a beanie, ever. You think of this, the kippah or yarmulke that Jewish men wear as a symbol that God's authority is above their own authority. But on Passover night, you wear a real fancy one, so I'll be wearing my crown. I wish you could be here to be a part of it, but maybe next year. In any case, Chag Sameach, that's the Hebrew greeting for the Passover season. Happy Passover. Have a blessed Good Friday and a celebrative Resurrection Sunday. See you later.